From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight as we head into the final game before the Broncos bye week. The Eagles are up this weekend. We'll spend some more time on tomorrow's show actually breaking down the Eagles, but I thought today it'd be kind of an interesting conversation to talk about some of the Broncos' expiring contracts and also talk about some of the young players that are playing so well and how they can maybe make some interesting decisions for George Paton and this next coaching staff. Now, we talked about it on Broncos Country Tonight. Some of the decisions, some of the conversations are going to be framed once you know what's going to happen with the coaching staff, once you make a decision on what direction you're going there. And by the way, I wanted to ask you before we get too far into that, Coach Fangio is going into his final year next year. If they decide to retain him, isn't about that the time when you'd actually maybe give him an extension?
Yes, and so that's the thing. We're going to know here in the next couple of weeks what this Broncos team is, if they're contender or pretender. They have a playoff mandate. It's very obvious what direction that's going. If you make the playoffs, then Vic Fangio and the staff, at least in part, sticks around, and if they don't, they don't. And so that's part of the deal here. And we've talked about that, as you alluded to on the show. You're not going to sign certain guys if they maybe not be scheme fits for the next guy you're bringing in. So I think if you're George Paton right now, you're actually kind of happy because you've got options. You've got a lot of options. The youth has shown up, and you don't have to just re-sign people because you have no depth behind them. So I think with regard to a lot of these expiring contracts, I think the Broncos are in an actionable position because you have guys that are coming up that look promising, and you may not need to make as big an expenditure on somebody that's contract is expiring. So
on the players that were rookies here that you've kind of help foster and grow, like Cortland Sutton, for example. Mm-hmm. I think that the effort will be made to resign them. I think we have a little bit of time more to see kind of what that looks like. But the ones I wanted to talk about is maybe making some decisions a little bit different so we could get into the secondary here because I actually think a guy like Kyle Fuller and Bryce Callahan, I think those are two conversations that I think we framed different coming into the season, and it's now flip-flopped a couple of different directions. Mm-hmm. Is that one where you still need more information? Because Bryce Callahan is probably not going to play again the remainder of the year. And if Kyle Fuller ends up having just kind of an explosion here at the tail end of the season, I think we're going to be changing our tune where just a couple of weeks ago we were saying, well, that's probably a guy you're going to let go.
Well, yeah, the knock on Bryce Callahan has been availability. And I think if you're an NFL team, you're very, very cautious to hand him another big money contract if he's not able to play more than 8 games a year, which seems to be about what he is. And that's, don't get me wrong, Bryce Callahan's a heck of a talent, but he's also my size. He's actually a little thinner than I am. And that's a problem playing corner in the NFL. As far as Fuller goes, if he's able to turn it on, you might have something there. Maybe you do, and especially if this staff sticks around because he's so well-versed in this scheme. I don't know if you re-sign him if you move on from this staff. I think that would be something that you probably avoid. But if this staff is retained, I would suggest that if he has a good second half of the season, that he could be brought back.
We had a conversation on Broncos Country Tonight. You can find it at broncoscountrytonight.com, talking about the inside linebackers. People very impressed with the combination of Baron Browning and Kenny Young. Mm-hmm. You might have somehow fallen back into what might be the future of your inside linebacker position. But you added the caveat, and again, under the cloud of if Vic Fangio is retained, yeah, you do like Kenny Young here. But if not, maybe you do look in a different direction.
Probably, and that's the thing. Like Baron Browning will be here either way. For A, he's on a rookie deal. B, he can play both. He can be an inside backer or a will in a 43. Kenny Young is not really a Mike backer in a 43. He's he's an inside linebacker in a 34 scheme that needs the blockers up front to eat up for him. And that he's good when he has that.
Very good.
But that's really kind of what he's limited to. So if Vic Fangio is not retained and they go with, and we'll just pick a name at random here and say Dan Quinn, and they go to a 43, cover 3 type scheme, Kenny Young's not really a fit anymore. So I don't know why you'd resign him. That's one of those things you need to know who the coach and what the defense is going to be before you lay out that kind of money.
All right, I'm going to throw out a little bit of a wild speculations thing here. And this is more of a, if things continue down the path that they are, what kind of decision are you forced with? Because Jonathan Cooper's tied with the rookie lead in pressures, right? Mm-hmm. Tied for second with the rookie lead in pressures.
Despite limited snaps.
Despite not playing all that much. Mm-hmm. And so Kwity Paye's the only guy ahead of him right now as far as rookies go. So that's pretty impressive when you think about where that sits right now. If you continue to just play at this level, it's tough for me to say like outright he is your guy starting Bradley Chubb, but I think you could have a conversation about maybe you look more rotational there. He's a starter, but then maybe there's a rotation there because certainly if he's an ascending player, you're not going to spend one of your top premium picks on an edge rusher, are you?
Well, that's the thing. And Jonathan Cooper straight up said it. He straight up said, look, I'm trying to convince these people that they don't need to draft to replace Von Miller. I'm already here. And, so I think if you're looking at what he brings to the table and you look at what the Broncos have in terms of depth, they're probably going to draft an edge rusher anyway, because you've got Malik Reed and Coop and all that kind of stuff, but you need one more. I think if Chubb turns into the guy you think he can be, if he can stay healthy, I think Reed is the rotational guy. Cooper's the guy you're hoping becomes the starter. If he does, that was a gold mine find in the 7th round. You're going to have a cheap edge rusher for 4 years. And then, you look for another rotational guy beyond that to eventually replace Reed, because you're not going to pay your rotational guy what he's going to need in starter money. You let the Shaq Barrett walk. Is that outside of the realm of possibility, what I just presented to you? No, I think that's right. I think that's the scenario that you're looking at and you're hoping for. You're hoping that Coop becomes the guy, because if he does and Chubb comes back and is the guy you thought he was, that's the best of all worlds. And if you re-sign Bradley Chubb, which you'd be expected to be doing, then you've paid one guy, you've got another guy on a rookie deal. And that's kind of how you need to structure a roster if you're going to build a roster to compete, especially if you have to pay a quarterback that's not on a rookie deal. Okay, last one here, offensive line. Just a couple of decisions you're probably going to be making here, specifically at right guard, I think, with Graham Glasgow, who's now on injured reserve. He's done for the year, still under contract next year, but you did draft a couple of interior offensive linemen, including a 3rd-round pick in Quinn Miners, who now they get a chance to have an extended look at him here. How do you expect interior offensive line to play out? I think if Lloyd Cushenberry doesn't turn it on, I think he could be gone after this year or relegated to a backup role. You could see a scenario in which both Quinn Meinertz and Netanya Moody are starting next year, Quinn at the center and Moody at the right guard. I don't think Graham Glasgow will be back without a pay reduction, without a severe salary reduction. Which I would be open to having that conversation, because really you can never have too many of these guys. We see guys going down often. Right. I think the main thing you need to figure out is the right tackle position. Is Calvin Anderson that guy? Can he move back to the left or the right? Because Calvin's better on the left, and Garrett Bowles isn't giving up the left side. So can Calvin Anderson play on the right side? If he can, then you get rid of Massey. You can get either a restructure or get out from under Glasgow, and then you've got Moody or Meinertz and whatever you want to do with Cushenberry. A good spot to be in, to have some flexibility there. But more than anything, it'd be great to turn it over to some of those younger guys, because then the opportunity to build long-term success there would be great. You can't pay. You can't have more than one gigantic contract at certain positions at the same time and be a successful football team. You're going to have to balance that out between rookies or rookie deals and starter money, second contract money. Garrett Bowles is already obviously on that deal. You don't have a rookie deal at quarterback. So you need cost control in certain areas, and it just doesn't make sense to continue paying the right side of that line if you can get younger and cheaper. All right. We'll spend more time breaking down the Eagles on the next episode. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.